let's begin actually with a moment of silence. Mary Alice Smothers, who was a wonderful part of this commission and a huge part of our community, as you all know, has been sick for some time. She passed away about a week or so ago, and along with her family and her friends and the whole community, we mourn her. So let's pause for a moment of silence for her. Thank you. Mary Alice taught me.
I was just going to say a word. I had contact a little earlier with one of her good friends who many of you know, Marilyn Higgins. And I was asking her if there would be anything more that she might be aware of, because there has not been, as you know, a formal obituary in the paper. There was that wonderful article. But she didn't know if whoever local in her family would be putting anything together in that regard. But I suggested to Marilyn that I know this group as well as many others, and St. Lucy's, Jim Matthews over there was pretty close to her, and others on the west side, and sometime in the spring to possibly have some kind of remembrance for her. So maybe we can talk about that again at that time.
I don't know who is in charge of this, and I don't know who Skiddy was, but she sure transformed Skiddy Park, and it would be great to have at least a part of that park be Mary Alice's park, me personally. But Mary Alice taught me about love of community in ways that I had never even imagined, and she poured her soul in, and I'm forever appreciative of what she taught me personally, but even more what she did for everybody else.
Yeah,
I don't know who names parks and how that works, but if somebody knows and knows how to do it, count me as one who would happily write a letter on behalf of her and suggesting that she's.
Well, I'll mention that to Marilyn also. I think she knows those pathways.
She was one of the bright lights of our community, and our commission has now lost 2 people over the years, and I don't know about all of you, but I feel it. I mean, I feel those losses, and so I'm thankful for the relationships, but I feel their loss. We have a couple of guests, so why don't we welcome the guests and invite them to introduce themselves and say a word. I don't know what order we do this in, Antoinette. Do you want to?
So let's start with our community members first, and then I will introduce our other 2 guests.
Great. So Mikhail, I think that's you.
Yes, my name is Mikhail Anderson, and I look forward to hearing what you all have to say regarding upholding human rights in Onondaga County.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the community?
I'm Mary Kuhn. I'm a county legislator and from the community.
Okay. And then I would like to introduce Mia Wade and Nodija Hernandez. They are 2 new human rights commissioners who will be joining us.
Great.
And will either of you have words? And if you want to speak, you can. If you want to remain silent, you can.
It just allowed us to unmute, I think.
Yep, I sure did.
Hi, my name is Nodija Hernandez, and I wanted to say this is one of my first meetings that I ever attended. And I do a lot of work in the community, but I just never, for some reason, attended one of these meetings. And I love the concept of it, because I do a lot of political work, and I often think of parties, and I'm glad to be on a committee when we can think of humans, because humans are the ones that we need to fight for and not the parties. So thank you for welcoming me, and I'm excited. And I just want to get to work and do great things for humans.
Wonderful. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And my name is Maya Wade. It's just spelled like Mia. But I'm just learning about this committee, and I'm excited to just get out my comfort zone and meet new people and learn about what's going on in the city of Syracuse and the county.
Great. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Also, I also want to take this opportunity to thank any outgoing commissioners for the work that has taken place over the years, and particularly this year for 2020. It's been a tough year for everyone, and I think after the dust settles, everyone can take a sigh and just kind of breathe. But it's been a rough year for everyone, but I think that there should be a salute for every commissioner, every 2020 commissioner, but particularly for those who will be outgoing or no longer on the board come 2021. Those commissioners are ones who have served more than one term, and it has been the understanding that it's important to get new members or give more opportunities to community members to have a say and have a stake in what we do as a Human Rights Commission. So thank you to everyone for just a fabulous 2020. It's been quite a year, and everyone has done so well in terms of serving. So thank you.
So next on our agenda is recognition of visitors. That we have done already. So the next is, we're up to number 6, which is follow up on the hearing we held last month on COVID and the challenges our community is facing. So does anybody have any comments that they'd like to share about the hearing? Thoughts, suggestions, ideas for the next hearing? Sky's the limit. What would you like to say?
Well, I'll begin since I had sent around that little brief reflection, I guess, or I won't call it a report. But I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that we did it. To say that I wasn't disappointed with the turnout would be a lie. But that is the way it is. And that certainly could have reflected a few different things. One, that our outreach wasn't as effective as we had hoped. Secondly, that the vehicle itself is obviously not reaching the people that we hoped it would reach as well. Thirdly, that there's no issues that people thought of in this context that weren't being addressed by other groups in another context. So, I mean, I think that it's a worthwhile vehicle, yet at some point, I'm not so sure that this Zoom nature of things, although many of us are getting more used to it, and I'm not sure I'm liking it anymore, but I'm getting more used to it over the last months and so many different contexts, whether it's meetings or social gatherings or worship or whatever. But it obviously is not the vehicle for everyone. I was glad that Nan Eaton from United Way took part. I had reached out to her, and I know she sent out notices to other United Way people, and I think she's a good resource herself, as well as others who spoke that night. But that was my initial impression.
Dave, I've wrestled with the same attendance questions that you have. And I mean, part of it is certainly the outreach part. The other part is I thought a lot about the DeWitt hearing that we helped run a few months before. And the socioeconomics of DeWitt are different from that of the city. And
Exactly.
That was part of our motivation in doing the hearing in the first place, was to be able to help those who were truly being left out in the cold in all of this. And one of the conclusions I've drawn is that the lack of participation is indicative of how big the problem is. It doesn't mean that the lack of participation is only because of a lack of access, but I think it's a big part of it. And so one of the questions moving forward is, how do we help people get the access they need, particularly with things like school? I mean, education is a right in this country. What can we do to make sure that our kids in less fortunate circumstances have the same access and the same possibilities, which is a big challenge, and it's one we're not going to solve today or overnight, but we can certainly move things forward, and I think we did do that. If nothing else, we drew attention to it. So that to me is worth something. There's much work to be done, though. So what else? What else did people think about, see, listen to, hear?
I was also disappointed in the turnout. And what I thought of afterwards was that maybe, well, some of the people that I wrote to in the education system wrote back that there were other meetings on the same night. But I think maybe we sent out the invitation far enough in advance that we probably needed to send out an invitation again closer to the date.
What about some?
The public hearing is on our website.
Great.
So
what about the issues that were raised? Was anybody surprised by the issues that were raised by those who were there?
I don't know if I don't think I was surprised, but it's skipping my mind right now. I'll blame it on COVID. But but there was, I wish I did a little more, maybe homework reviewing that, but I'm trying to think what stood out for me. I mean, I know the question of hunger that Leo and others brought up was one that, something I was thinking, that's something to be aware of more. Again, we know that there are other groups that are more appropriate to address that in one sense, or more able to, but that jumped out at me a little bit more. And I also kind of tangentially, until a week and a half ago, my wife and I were working our food pantry at St. Lucy's every week, which is a big pantry in the city, and talking to the director there and others about the need and what's available and all of that kind of thing. So the food issue is one big one. I would second the obvious thing that Dan said about accessibility in terms of internet and broadband. I know, as some of you know, my daughter teaches at Delaware this year in the city, and has had a virtual experience there, but her stories about trying to connect with kids are very, very discouraging. She keeps up a good spirit, but you recognize how difficult the situation is.
I mean, I don't want to put the county people, we tried very hard to not put people on the spot, and I don't want to do that tonight, but I do want to ask Montanette and Monica and Mary, are there things that you guys are seeing or hearing that we can do to help? Are there places where we could be doing outreach or connecting or something? Man, we want to do everything we can to ensure rights, obviously, but so, what did you pick up in that hearing or in the conversations around it?
So quite often we get calls to our department from community members, county workers, everyone who's involved in the community about the impact of COVID-19. And so as we get those inquiries or questions, we handle them or send them to the right department. So we do have a few matters that we can address, that the Human Rights Commission can address, and I think they will make a big impact. And so that's something that we can prepare for in 2021, come January 2021. With this uptick and this widespread outbreak in our community right now, quite a few departments have been repurposed. And what that means is that there are departments who normally do their day-to-day business or operations and are redirecting what they normally do to help out with the contract tracing is basically what we're doing. I think that's the capacity that most of the county workers have the ability to do. There's training involved, but a lot of the county workers are now being trained so that they can do contract tracing. So there's two things that we're dealing with: the day-to-day operations of our job, and then also helping out in the community to address this issue of COVID-19.
Okay.
So to answer your question, the short answer is we do have quite a few matters that we can discuss and confront come January 2021.
One of the things that I wonder if this commission could be helpful with, I agree with Montanette's part that some county workers are being diverted, which is a problem for the ongoing departments because they're already stressed. But the other thing that I think of related to education issues is that our library system in the city, the libraries are pretty much closed, although some of them are open limited ways for picking up. But I wonder if there's some way to get libraries in various communities have computers and access to computers. In the summer and in the early fall, some of the students who are sitting outside libraries to be able to connect to the internet in order to do schools. But I know the libraries, there were like 72 part-time workers that have been laid off, and a number of full-time librarians have been because libraries are closed. But I wonder if in 2021 there can be some advocacy to get some of those open again, particularly in the minority communities where broadband and internet is not as available. Some of the suburban libraries have had the opportunity to do make appointments or they have to limit the number of people in because it'd be limited by the number of computers available for students, or even if students brought their own in, they could get because I know the schools have provided some of the students with some Chromebooks that they could bring them in on a limited basis. But I wondered from a human rights perspective for education, if that might be something that this committee might be of help.
It's funny. If you told me 5 years ago when I joined this committee, or whenever it was, that mobile hotspots would become a human rights issue, I would have looked at you like you were nuts. On the other hand, the reality of the last 10 months, mobile hotspots are a human rights issue. And so we've got, going forward, we've got to live with that new reality. And I think you're spot on. I mean, I think this is a piece that we're going to have to address.
In fact, one of our community members spoke about the libraries being closed. I can't remember her name, and Rabbi Monica and others, you'll remember the one member, she was, I don't know how many community members joined, but she is the one who spoke about the access to libraries. And we did have a representative from the county executive's office on the call. So that's something that's on the radar, and it hasn't fallen through the cracks or is lost. But there was a community member at that November 18th meeting who spoke out about that very issue that you spoke of just now, Mary.
And can you hear me? Am I heard?
Yes, we can hear
sorry.
you.
One of the things I think would be helpful with this commission to help is with the disability community, especially with the uptick in COVID and getting them tested. If there's a way that we can work with that community and getting information out to them. I know I've had several calls as to people being turned away from like the Syracuse Community Health Center because they're arriving either via ABLE or Arise is bringing them, and they're getting turned away because they're on the vans. And so if we can begin to work with those organizations to make sure that all peoples, no matter what their disabilities are able to be tested and not turned away. I know sites that are that the county oversees. We actually have the nurses get on the vans and test the individuals, but sites that we are not overseeing, that is not the case. So I would like to see if we could better work with those communities to tell to really get them to understand that this is a great need, and that everyone does not have same access, and we got to make sure that all members of this community have the same access, especially with this uptick in COVID. So that's one of the things I would like to see us do in 21.
Agreed. Completely agree. All right. Any other last comments about the hearing? Suzette?
Not necessarily about the hearing per se, but before I start, I just want to welcome Nidecia. It's good to see you again. And welcome to Maya as well. I wanted to also, with regard to getting tested for the disabled community, my understanding is that the testing that's done at the fairgrounds, one can actually remain in their cars. So one thing that the commission can do is see if maybe there can be coordinated like van service to the fairground so that those people could be tested and they don't have the obstacles that were just spoken of. And then the other thing I just want to let everybody know, and this is still a work in progress, I'm working with others within the court system, within the 5th Judicial District, to establish spots, and they're like basically centers. We have 5 so far, where people within the community who have to make appearances in court virtually can go and actually receive help doing that. Because I think what we're all talking about are the issues that are raised by the digital divide, and especially for those people that don't have either the money or the broadband service in their communities to access or to securely access. That can be a big issue for them if they're appearing in their court cases and either they can't access or in the middle of it, they lose access, which has even happened to the court. In the appearances that I've been a part of. So that's one thing. I'll just throw it out there, FYI, for people to know that this is being worked on actively. So hopefully those locations will be identified and publicized very soon. We've been hard at work even to try to do as much as possible before the holidays, but definitely at the latest, right after the holidays, that information should be disseminated.
Awesome.
Leo? Leo, can you unmute?
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, I use a different laptop. I just want to say good evening. And since the November 18th meeting, right after that meeting, I got off the phone and I was speaking with Sue Stanzik. So we were working together until an unfortunate incident happened where I just got out of the hospital a couple of days ago with COVID and also pneumonia. So my right lung had a mass in it, and I'm still on quarantine. And I had signed up, went to the 13th floor of the Civic Center, got all my paperwork done and everything. I sent an email out to all the nurses I graduated from school with that are in the county to ask if they wanted to assist in doing health, testing. I also, they told me that there were people that I know that work in the county building that are using, they don't have to be nurses, but they can do phone and call people and make appointments and things like that, because there's a shortage of people that need to do that also. So I've been reaching out to people that have been laid off, that have administrative jobs, and saying, listen, I've been working with a lady named Isabel. I don't know if you know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
She did my W-4 and 1099 and all that stuff like that. But the day I went to see Sue and Isabel, and 2 days later, I ended up in the hospital in the emergency room. So that went straight down the toilet. But as soon as I get back on my feet, I want to get back into it and continue to assist. But I'm a little bit under the weather right now. Still a little shaky on my feet with sea legs.
We're glad to have
Well,
you with
Leo,
us
it's
again.
so good. It's so good to see you, Leo, and I hope you feel better and get better.
Oh, this thing is no joke, I tell you. I was on a COVID floor at Community, and everybody was COVID on that floor, and I just wanted to get out of there because I didn't want to get any sicker.
Of course.
You
That
much
was it.
in heart and prayer, Leo.
Thank you.
Glad to see you looking as good. I wouldn't have known that you'd gone through all of that. You look much better than that.
But I tell you, the one upside is that I was fat and I lost 13 pounds. So I don't recommend that diet for anybody.
There are better diets.
That's a lot to go through. Thank goodness you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm very relieved to hear it.
And Leo, take care of yourself.
Oh, I have to. I haven't left this house and I'm getting cabin fever.
All right, so if there are no other comments, then we'll come back and talk about the hearing in just a few minutes when we get to the annual report, because obviously in the annual report we want to mention that and talk about it. But thank you for all who were involved with it. Two end results for me. One, I think we did good, and we did good for the community, and we did what we're called to do as human rights commissioners. And two, even more than that, we learned from it to be able to do better the next time. And I think those are both important steps, and I'm glad that we were able to do this. The next item on our agenda is the administrator's report. So Montanette, it's yours.
Okay, great, thank you. So I just want to talk briefly about the annual report and an idea that we came up with, or an idea that popped into my head that could enrich the annual report. And that would be bios and pictures of the commissioners. And I know this is last minute, so to the extent that anyone could get pictures, small pictures, little mugshots to me, along with a brief bio, that would be great. If it's not something we can pull off for the annual report, at least we'll have it and we can update our website with that information. But I think it would be great information to include a picture and a brief bio of each commissioner. So that's one thing that I thought would be good for the annual report. There is a complaint from a community member. I won't mention her name in public forum, and I think it would be okay to mention her first name only, but she is an individual who I've been in touch with over the past couple of months. And I reached out to her on Monday to see where she was in her own personal advocacy for people who go to grocery stores and who are not assisted with bagging. Her issue was she actually had a brother who went to a Price Chopper, and he was told that the cashier could not bag his groceries for him. And so the sister is advocating on his behalf. Lo and behold, after she had gotten the news from him that Price Chopper was not willing to bag groceries for people in need or people who have disabilities, she herself went to a Walmart in Cicero and was told the same thing, that the cashiers were not able to bag groceries for her. And she has a medical condition. So she reached out to me and quite a few other people as well. She reached out to lawmakers on all levels, I believe. And also she connected with some of her personal social clubs to get the word out. But I am going to loop back around to her to find out where she is and what kind of progress she's made. But she has reached out to us. She's reached out to us asking if we could possibly assist her in this matter or lend a voice to her fight to get the cashiers to bag groceries for people who cannot do it for themselves. So that's something we can discuss at another meeting after I've followed up with her. I want to catch up. I want to touch base with her again just to see where she is. And again, I think it would be okay to mention her first name, but you have her name in the email that I sent to you. And we can follow up on that particular request when I've spoken with her. And then with the term updates, this was just a topic that we didn't get to cover at our last meeting, which was the October 21st meeting. And earlier in the meeting, I just mentioned, I thanked commissioners whose terms will end in 2020. I thanked those outgoing commissioners for their service and their time, hard work. But we will be putting on new members come 2021. So term updates, that's all to report on that front. And
On to that, who are the terms whose terms are up this year? And is anybody's term that's up who is eligible to continuing on? Can you go through the list of who's who and what's what and all of that?
so yes, so it's Rosalie, Dave, and Suzette, and each has served 2 terms.
Okay. And then are there any one-termers who are up who are continuing, or one-termers who are not continuing? Do we know?
So I think the only one-termer might be Trisha.
Okay.
Just right off the top of my head. And I think Trisha has joined us by way of iPhone.
Trisha, if you're there, *6 and unmute yourself. Oh, try it again.
Can you hear?
Are you there?
Hi. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, my term is ending, but if pending county legislative approval, I'm going to move over to the Justice Center Oversight Committee.
Okay, so there could be that would mean 4 vacancies. In addition to the others, I mean, there are other, I don't know if the mayor's full piece is in, or off the top of my head, I don't remember who's county executive and who's county ledge and who's the mayor's. So I don't know where we are with how many vacancies, but I know we will have a bunch and we'll need to address that.
Rabbi, there has been some appointments that are waiting on the ledge approval for January 1. I believe there are 6 new oncoming commissioners.
Great. So will that bring the commission up to full throttle, or how many does that still leave? And is there anything we can do to help, or what do you?
I can tell you right now. Hold on one.
So, and keep in mind, we do have a few people who resigned, so we're having to fill those positions as well.
Hold on one second. I can get that information.
Monica, have those been nominated by the county legislature, or they're coming up before them?
They have, the county exec has sent them over. I believe they're coming on the agenda for January.
I see, from the county executive.
Yes,
Not
and the
later.
county ledge has 2 appointments that he submitted.
County ledge has 2?
Yeah, that the chairman submitted.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And
Does
I
the
do,
county, does the legislature, I can't remember, will they come before you as the legislature first to be recommended, or does it just come from the county executive?
so what
Generally,
happens is, I don't know if you remember, but the county executive introduced this process where individuals who are interested in joining the Human Rights Commission or the Justice Center Oversight Committee, you go online and that's how you apply. So that's that whole process of applying to join one or the other, Human Rights Commission or the Justice Center Oversight Committee. Does that answer your
I
question?
know that, I know I've had my couple of terms, and this would be my last meeting, and Rosalie's as well, I guess, because we've been on together since the beginning, and I could say more about that. But I know we had, I think, I'm not sure if it was kind of an understanding that as a non-voting member, we were welcome to attend the meetings, but obviously not technically as a voting member of the committee. I suppose we could always attend as an interested community member, even if we didn't have a
Dave,
particular role here.
Dave, we were told that by, trying to remember what legal department it was, that we were following municipal law for the state of New York, which says that you continue to participate minus voting until your replacement has been seated.
That's right. I recall that now. Thank you.
That was a straight up legal opinion. I couldn't remember who told us that, but it came straight out of legal.
Right. And I'm having, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm having an issue. All outgoing commissioners have been replaced. They're just waiting to be confirmed for the January 1 ledge meeting. And
okay.
So, Rabbi, to your point, we have 4 county exec openings left, 2 mayor and 3 ledge.
Okay.
So that's 9 positions yet.
That's a lot.
That's half the commission.
Maybe it's appropriate at this time just to thank everybody that I would not have met otherwise without HRC involvement. So thank you for your warmth and friendship.
And just so you all know, those are what's opening. My understanding is that the county exec has more that he's sending over. So I'm looking for February for the commission to be full.
Is the county ledge appointment spots, are they filled the same way the county executive appointment spots are filled, or does the county ledge have its own practice?
No, they have their own appointment. The legislators can appoint, and I do know that they're actively. I know that I've got a email from the chairman that they do have 2 appointments that they're sending over. Well, they're going to be doing. He's not sending them to me. They're already there.
Has anyone reached out to the mayor's office about his appointments?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
So there's still one more, Monica, that the legislature can nominate. Am I correct? For the February meeting?
Pardon me?
So there's still one more available for the legislature, because somebody I would be interested in nominating. Is there one more available?
No, you have 3, but that, I think that process that has to go through, the ledge, you and the ledge.
I do know that. I thought you said that David, that the chairperson already nominated 2 out of the 3.
No, there's 2 he nominated, and there's 3 openings, 3 left.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for the clarification.
Also, just one point of if we could just make sure that the community members who are community members remain muted and silent during the meeting. Your opportunity to speak is at the very beginning, and we give you that opportunity to speak for 2 minutes. We have the agenda posted right before the meeting. Usually I have it done before the meeting. And so that's going to give everyone in the community the opportunity to make known or speak that information they want spoken during their given time. But we cannot have the interaction with the community members involved in our meeting. And I would ask that everyone respect that. Thank you so much.
All right, so Montserrat, anything else in your updates?
One other thing, I just wanted to make everyone to be aware that Crystal Duty resigned from the commission. I don't think that was something that was announced or that everyone was aware of. So she resigned in November, a couple of days after our public hearing. And that's the only information I'd like to pass along.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the annual report. Montserrat, is it possible to make me a co-host?
So how is it going to be any different from how you're interacting with us now?
I want to be able to share the screen with the draft thing that I put together, at least as a starting point. So if you can make me a co-host, I'll be able to do that. And as soon as I'm done, I'll hand it back over to you.
Okay.
So the rest of the commissioners are aware. I sort of began to map out what I think might belong in the annual report, along with some suggestions by Montanet. And so we'll sort of walk through this and see where we are with it and what we can do.
Okay, let's see.
If you go to participants and then click on the three dots next to my name, or just go to the picture of me and click on the three dots.
Okay, so I'm doing something in advanced sharing options, and then
you should be able to
there
just
you go. You should have it.
Okay, let's see. Yep, I got it.
You got it. Are you able to share?
I think so.
All right, you got it.
Already got it? So, all right, so this is sort of a beginning draft of the annual report. I began with a couple of opening paragraphs. The Syracuse Onondaga County Human Rights Commission experienced a year of outreach, hard work, challenges, and more. The year began with an organizational meeting to discuss issues of particular interest among commissioners for the year. February saw the elections of officers and the beginning of committee work. But in March, like much of the world, the commission faced the challenge of living and operating during a pandemic. Starting in April, commission meetings were held via Zoom, and we worked hard to maintain connections and speak out for the rights of all while being physically distant and safe. Our focus shifted as well, the commission working to make sure that refugee communities and those less fortunate could follow the same health guidelines, and at the same time we listened to the needs of those communities. And then what I was planning to do was to do a number of sections, paragraphs, couple paragraphs, whatever it is. The first one is a section listing all the members of the commission from this past year, as Montanet mentioned earlier, with pictures and bios. The next was to talk about the two committees that we created and their work and what they accomplished over the year. The third is outreach. I know both before and actually during the pandemic, a number of us attended different rallies and things going on around the community. And so to be able to at least mention that, I put one whole section here on the pandemic because it seemed like too big an issue to not address on its own. And there are a whole bunch of different pieces that includes. It may be that that we can work it into everything else. I'm not sure. The next section was speakers. We've had a number of speakers who have joined us for conversations at our meetings, and I think it's important to get that out. And then the hearings and meetings that we have held or helped to facilitate, both our own hearing last month and the DeWitt hearings earlier, able to talk
East
about
Syracuse also.
Right. And so the thought was that all of this would then go into a report that would be able to, we could share with all of the appointing bodies. So the county legislature, the common council, the mayor's office, the county executive's office, so they could all see and get a sense of what the commission has been up to. So we'll stop the share for right this second. What am I missing? Does that seem to make sense to you? Initial thoughts on that? And then the second question is anybody willing to write one of those sections in particular, and sort of help so that we can make this a group effort rather than just one person writing the whole report.
And Rabbi, from our office, we can also put how many calls come in,
Great.
and so that they can, I want them to know how important the work is that you all do. So because we're getting a lot of calls, so I want to, if we can put some, me and Montanet can work on that.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that's a very important part, and I flaked on. I apologize, but yes, that should be in there. Obviously, I'm assuming we protect people's identities and such, but that's important. So thank you. What else? What else are we missing, or what else doesn't need to be in there? Does it help if I pull it up and share it so you can look at it again?
Yes, I think so. If we could just see it again, Rabbi, what you have outlined.
There it is. So
I mean, I would be willing to help, and to have help writing about the committees, because like you said, we have, the two separate committees, and I would like to help, whomever, to write about the committees and what they do.
Great. So, Barbara, do you feel comfortable writing those 2 paragraphs on your own, or do you need help with it?
I probably would need help with it. I could definitely, if I have something to write about, that would be great. And then what I would like to do is have input from others who've been here longer than me to put their input in about the committees.
Okay.
So one thing, if I could speak first. So the information that anyone's going to put about the committees would be from January through, I don't know, maybe a few months hence. Because at one point we had that transition where the commission has absolutely no committees. So if the commissioners would like to mention the work that committees prior to that transition happened, just for acknowledgement of work and service, that's fine. But it's not anything that has to be belabored, or it doesn't need to have any kind of extra work to it, because it was only done for a few months until that time of transition when it was determined that we were going to not have committees. So Barbara,
Okay, are we talking then maybe January to March?
No, it was later than that. It was summertime. It was July or August. So committees were still
okay.
meeting into the summer. So I would say February to August, roughly.
Okay, February to August. Okay.
Well, in January we had the meeting where we shared a meal and we talked about issues and sort of began to put things together. By February, we sort of had agreed on committees, and then and the committees met during the pandemic until, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, everybody, I think it was until August, but
we can look at those dates, those months, and pinpoint when the committees were actually.
What I want to do is show off all the work that was done. I want to be able to highlight everything that people did.
Yes, I would like to make sure I add all of that too. I don't want to leave anything out. I want to make sure that the committees, they shine.
All right. So Barbara, why don't we do this? Why don't you first get together with Montanet, and Montanet will be able to give you sort of the basic details. The minutes from all of our meetings are on the website. So that'll also be a helpful thing to look through. And then after you've spoken with Montanet, give me a call, and we'll be able to walk through it together, and I'll be able to help you with it. If anybody wants to help her, that's great. Go ahead, Montanet.
I think that's a great idea, Rabbi, and I think we are running against time on this. Going into next week, the week of the 21st, that's going to be the week of Christmas, and so people are going to have limited availability for whatever reason. They're going to be celebrating, or quiet time, downtime, holiday time. So I would urge any of the committee members who are on this Zoom meeting call right now to reach out to Barbara and maybe send in a sentence or two of important work or information that happened within these committees, so that she can have at least a sentence or two or a paragraph of what the committee individuals, the committee folks know what happened during
Right.
that time, during this year of 2020.
Barbara, the grand total of the product we're asking for is 2 paragraphs. So I don't want you to go nuts with it. I don't want you to spend a lot of time with it.
Okay, 2
and
paragraphs is fine.
If we aim for 2 paragraphs for each of these points, we'll have it. If we start giving everybody 10, 15 page documents, they aren't going to have time to read it anyway. So I think we aim for shorter pieces. Does somebody want to take on the outreach piece? I know a number of us have attended different rallies and things over the course of the year. We can do this 2 ways. If you've attended a rally or been part of an outreach effort, you can email me, or if somebody wants to collect all that stuff and write it into a paragraph, that would be great. Anybody willing to take that one on?
I'd be glad to either do that if you want to send me the data, because I was at a number of those, as I know many of us were. So I'd either write a paragraph about that if people wanted to send me any info, or I could do the other one on the hearings. I was not at the DeWitt hearing, but I could reference the East Syracuse and the Zoom hearing. I'd do one or the other.
Okay, so Dave, why don't you do the outreach? Well, I can cover the DeWitt hearing, the DeWitt piece of the DeWitt hearing piece, because I was there. So if you're willing to write the rest of the hearings meeting section, I'll give you a couple sentences for that. But that means we still need to have somebody else cover for us to sort of keep track of who did what. So is anybody willing to write a paragraph or 2 about that? Rosalie, I know I saw you at a rally downtown. Are you willing to step in?
A healthcare worker.
Oh, Rosalie.
I'm muted. Yes, I'll do it.
All right. So if you attended any kind of outreach event during the year, whether it was before the pandemic or during the pandemic, please email Rosalie by this Friday. We'll give you 2 days to do it. And Rosalie, do your very best to we can send a follow-up email after this meeting to encourage people to do all these things. Send me 2 paragraphs, Rosalie, at the most, about outreach.
Okay.
The speakers one, that one I think I can take care of just by going through the minutes every month and compiling the list of speakers. So I'll take care of that one. The pandemic one I'll come back to. Hearings and meetings, Dave's got, and then calls and cases handled by administrators. Montanette, can you help with that section?
Absolutely. Now I can bring in information from human rights calls up through Friday, December 18th, whatever cutoff date that you all want. And what we can do is talk about how many human rights calls we got. And we can also mention the Justice Center Oversight Committee, because we're dealing that in our office. We get calls from both windows. So we get human rights calls, and then we get Justice Center Oversight in Jamesville calls.
Does the JCOC do its own annual report?
They are in the process of wrapping up their report.
So then your section, I think let's aim to focus on human rights specific calls. And if you can just produce a paragraph. All right, so we've got this all split up now. Let me just make sure we've got it all. So everybody's going to be asked to send in a picture and a bio. So I'll send an email asking for picture, bio, and outreach. And then the committee's one is Barbara. Outreach is Rosalie. Speakers is me. Hearings is Dave. And Dave, I'll send you a sentence. And then calls and cases is Montanette. So that leaves us only the big question, which is the pandemic. Do we want to have, should there be a separate section, or are we covering it enough in the rest of things? I know, for example, one committee worked on outreach to refugee communities about how to handle the pandemic. That could well be in the committee report, but it could also be in its own separate section. What do you guys think?
The outreach committee also worked on getting voters and getting people to respond to the census.
Right, they did census, voters, and then refugee pandemic stuff.
Yep.
Suzette, you had your hand up.
So I have this statement that I wanted to make, given that my commission expires at the end of this month. I think that the statement that I was going to make might contain some of the narrative that you might be looking for, either as an introductory or as a path to more detailed information. So if it's okay, I will read that now.
That's fine, and if you want to also send me the hard copy so that I can, I'll literally cut and paste from it. God knows your legal writing skills are far superior.
No, this is not legal writing at all. I mean, I don't know if you're going to want to use it or not, but it might be helpful. So I will say what I was going to say, given that, I'm aware that my commission expires at the end of this month. And that is as follows. Since my appointment to the commission in June 2016, I have been honored to be part of the reinvigoration of this body after a period of dormancy. I will always look upon the work of this commission during this time with great pride, as our work was always greater than any one of us or even the entire group of us for that matter. It was done for the sake of those with less access to information and less resources than any of us have. We represented all communities, particularly those who are minoritized, be it due to race, ethnicity, religion, ability, sexual or gender identity or status, immigration status, socioeconomic class, etc. For whatever it was worth, we did form committees as a way to do our work. And I would also make mention that those committees, there was time devoted even outside of the commission meetings for us to meet on our own time to try to do the work for the community. We also heard from those within the community who serve in their professional roles, whether in government, community organizations, etc. We have worked together through our own personal, family, and health struggles, through loss of spouses, children, parents, and our own members, not at the exclusion of Star Guckert and Mary Alice Smothers, who I will miss tremendously and that I learned a great deal from. All the while covering for one another and extending degrees of grace where appropriate. Sorry. It has been a distinct honor and privilege to serve with my fellow commissioners whose commitment to the community is unquestionable. I have learned so much from all of them, all of you, and have been enriched not only by our discussions, but by our actions. I will always value our many interactions with the public at community gatherings, such as Westcott Street Festival, the Duck Race, or the Plowshares Craft Fair and Peace Festival, just to name a few examples. We were present at rallies. We engaged in earnest disseminating information about county resources and individual human rights over the years. As a body, we responded appropriately to claims of civil rights violations. We were trained as facilitators. We trained others on issues of diversity inclusion, and we were asked on multiple occasions to facilitate difficult conversations on race and ethnicity within various communities, those being DeWitt and also East Syracuse. My fellow commissioners serve honorably to do the equity work that is always so very important, but especially now. So thus it is with these warm memories that I depart from this commission, and with the promise that I will remain available to the members of this commission as the work continues with each one of you, however you choose to do it, with the knowledge that our paths will cross again. So in that you have some details. I can also try to flush it out.
Suzette, first of all, thank you. Thank you for your words, but even more, thank you for your actions. I don't know how much you're aware of this, but you have been a wonderful teacher for all of us, and a model. And I know you're rolling your eyes at that, but it's true. And so first things first, thank you. Second, please do send me the hard copy because I will pull pieces from it. And
Okay.
third, this is also my last meeting as the chair. I've had the great honor of being the chair of this commission for 2 years, and it has been challenging and it has been rewarding. And though we didn't complete the job, I know we moved things forward. And I know that there are lives that are better today because of what we did together. And that's the power of community coming together. And I appreciate very, very much the opportunity to work with all of you and to get to know you. There are people I would have never had the chance to meet, and I'm forever grateful for that. And I look back with sadness at those who we've lost, but also with great gratitude for all that I have learned from all of you and from all of the others with whom I have served. We're nearing the end of our agenda. That effectively is my chair's report. Are there any other updates or new business or old business or announcements that anybody has?
The only thing I'd like to add is thank you to you, Dan, and to say in the simplest terms, tumultuous year, thanks for chairing this through a lot of different storms. So personally, professionally, religiously, I appreciate you in all of those dimensions. So thanks so much for being willing to do this again.
The honor has
it well.
been mine. The honor has been mine.
Rabbi, this is Barbara. And Suzette, I want to thank you both. I've gotten to know each of you. There's no word in our language for goodbye. So until our paths cross again, I wish Suzette best of luck, and I hope we do cross paths again. All of us. I hope we all do.
Same here. Same here. All right. If there are no other announcements or comments.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Okay, so I want to thank you the opportunity for being on the commission. Even though I only did one term, I was thankful to be on the commission and to meet everyone and to do the work that we did. I just feel like the Justice Oversight Committee might be a better fit because of my experiences working in the prison and jail and everything. Otherwise, I probably would have done another term on the commission. Just to say that. So.
We've appreciated having you, Tricia. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Montanette, you had your hand up.
Yes, so there's one thing that we did not do. We need to approve the October minutes and also the August minutes. And I'll tell you what happened. We need to, I guess, approve again the August minutes. I think we approved the August minutes without everyone having a good read of it. So with the most recent email that was sent out on Monday, both the August minutes and the October minutes were attached. And so that's the only line of business that we have left to do if everyone is finished, if there are no other comments, announcements, new business, old business, or commissioners' reports.
Let me entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented by Montanette. Do I have a motion? John Rushing moves. Leo is the second. All in favor, just raise your hand. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. So my last obligation as the chair is to produce the report. If you can get your information, your bio and picture to, I'm going to have you send those to Montanette.
Yes.
Please send those by Friday. So within a couple of days, I will send a follow-up email as soon as we're done with the meeting. But if you can send those by Friday, that will be very, very helpful. Those of you who have items to include in the annual report, please do that by Friday. And with a little luck, we'll have a draft of it ready by Monday, Tuesday at the very latest to circulate around among all of you. And assuming everything works, by Thursday of next week, we'll be able to send it off to all of those who should be receiving it.
Do you want photos and bios for those of us who are off the committee?
Yes.
Off the commission?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm going to try and track down those who served earlier this year and resigned mid-year, because I think it's important for the historical record, if nothing else, to have all of us who served be in that annual report.
And one thing I just wanted to add, if you don't have pictures, we'll accept the bios. I mean, ideally, we would like the pictures and the bios, but if we have the bios, that gives the legislators and everyone looking at the annual report an idea of who the commissioners are.
Does anybody know how to draw caricatures? We could have somebody draw caricatures of all of us.
I mean, we want both. We want bios and pictures. That would be wonderful. But we can still leave an imprint with a bio, but not just a picture. If someone has a picture,
Can we please make sure that we have Mary Ellis' mother's name included in there, even if we can't get a picture from the family, but
yes,
I think it's important to have Mary Ellis represented. I don't know if Star, I think she predeceased this annual report.
She did.
So
if nothing else, I thought that I would go through the story in the paper and craft a little bio about her, and we'll see what we can track down with a picture. But yes, for sure.
I don't know. I think it might even be appropriate to just have a section for Mary Ellis as part of the report. I know might be a page limit or something, but I think it would be a small way that this commission can honor her.
We could also we could write a paragraph and put a hot link to the story that was in the paper right into the report. So there are a couple ways we can do it.
That'd be great.
In that regard, I just received a text from Marilyn Higgins again about her service, which is going to be online tomorrow with a link to that. This is down in wherever she said, Lake Charles, or let me just see here. Where did I say it was? In Charles County, Maryland, rather.
Oh, Maryland.
So I'll send this link on if I can figure that out to everyone.
Or Dave, if you want to forward it to just me, I'll forward it in the email that I'm going to send out to everybody.
All right.
I'll just attach it, or tell me the name of the funeral home or something, and I'll.
Yeah, I'll send you the link here.
Fine. Send it to me, and I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you all very, very much.
I'm sorry, really quick. Just so I'm clear, when will we need this committee report, the piece that I'm writing, to be put in the annual report? Are you going to need it by the 21st?
I'd like to have it by Friday, the 18th. Is that possible? In 2
Possible,
days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
2 days from today then. Okay. So Montanette, can I call you tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Great.
All right. Thank you all very, very much. Do I have Nadicia?
I just quickly wanted to say that I was so excited that I thought I was going to work with Suzette Melendez and Rabbi Daniel, and now you're not going to be a part.
Well, I'm still on the commission for another year, but
okay.
Still with us.
I won't be the chair.
Okay.
We'll find some other way, Nadicia.
Okay.
For sure. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Don't move.
Great. And Rosalie is the second. Thank you all very, very much. Stay healthy, stay safe, and thank you again for all the work that you've done.